All right. Hello, everybody. It is Thursday night, which means it is time for Moto Talk. It's a little late tonight. I had to run into town for an appointment and all that, so it pushed out the stream. Plus, it's really bad weather out there, so it's a slow drive back home. But we're here. I'm here. Let's do this. Uh, my name is Todd. For those of you who don't know me, I am a mostly retired pro dirt biker. I've been in the sport for a long time, about 27 years, and uh, I kind of wanted another outlet in dirt biking since I'm pretty washed up. So I thought it'd be fun to do a talk show where I cover all the races, talk about what's going on in the sport, um, you know, go over all the race results and anything upcoming for the next race. And I do this show every week on Thursdays. So last weekend's race was Oakland. That was supposed to be the second race of the season, but it got postponed due to the crazy rain they had been having there. So they did it just this past weekend. Um, so during qualifying for Oakland, Phil Nicoletti crashed and dislocated his wrist. I don't know how long he'll be out of the race season for. Hopefully, he can make it back out there pretty quick. And then right here, I've got the track map for Oakland. It's kind of a weird layout. There was this rhythm section. They were able to do this whole curve, like straight away into the turn, and this almost as one really long rhythm section. I heard Carmichael at some point during the broadcast say it was like 18 jumps long if they didn't make any mistakes through it. That was pretty unique. It was interesting to see how they did this and how they kind of figured out the lines through there. I want to also say that I noticed that this track seemed like all the jumps were really peaky. And that's not a huge deal, but it does make it a little bit more challenging to time some of the jumps, because if the jump is like a steeper takeoff, you're going to go up higher up in the air. And when that's not the normal of like how most of the tracks are built, it can kind of throw you off because you're a foot or two higher up in the air, but you're not traveling as far distance wise. So I think that's why there were a lot of mistakes. Like Jet Lawrence was trying to figure out a line, and he kept casing one of the jumps really bad. And stuff like that. It's not a huge deal for the top riders, but like I just said, even Jet Lawrence was having some trouble with it. And after RJ's heat race, he in an interview he said that the section right before the finish line. So this I don't remember, were they triple doubling or double tripling in or out? No, wrong section. Right here, this whole rhythm section. I was looking at the track backwards. This whole rhythm section was pretty tricky, and he was saying that it was kind of sticky. Not 100% sure what he means by that. I mean, I know Tomac made a mistake late in the race. I'm pretty sure it was in that section. But this section was really hard for a lot of them to kind of figure out the timing on. I feel like it might have been more from some of the peakiness of the jumps, but what do I know? I wasn't out on the track riding. Also, it's been noticed, I think I mentioned it before too, where this year they're doing a pretty good job of making the tracks a little bit more unique and not so cookie cutter. I know that's been a problem in the past when these track maps get released and people start saying like, "Oh man, this is just like all the other tracks. There's never anything unique to them." I agree in the past that a lot of tracks were pretty similar, but you gotta remember this is Supercross. You can't do that much. You can put an over under jump in there. You can put, this track has 2 whoop sections in it. It's got a dragon's back, a different rhythm through here, but it's got the same kind of jumps. Your step on, step off, triples. Supercross, you can't do all that much with. It's a lot of standard jumps that just get put together in a different order, basically. But I think they've done a pretty good job this year of making this kind of unique. Like this whole section, doing this as all basically one long rhythm section. That's pretty good because that doesn't really happen in Supercross much. You get, one little straightaway of a rhythm, then you got like a whoop section or something, then maybe another rhythm. But this is one whole section as a rhythm section, which is pretty cool. Along with that, a lot of the riders have been talking about how it can be, the tracks are more tricky this year, and they're still trying to figure out their lines late into the heat races. Even, into the main events, they're finding new lines or trying new lines. And that, usually by the heat races, you've already got the track figured out. The way things shape up, you might find one new line, maybe a couple new lines, but to still be finding lines and figuring lines out late into the heat races, that shows that they're really trying to make more unique tracks this year. I already talked about the peakiness of some of the jumps. I noticed it a lot with, where is it? This double right here. Let's see if I can actually get it right here. This double right here. I was noticing as they'd come out of here, hit this triple, and when they would jump this double, it wasn't a super long double, but it was kicking them so high up in the air, and the landing of the jump was pretty short and really steep. So they would go up in the air, tap the rear brake, and kind of lean to bring that front wheel down to match the angle of the landing jump. So that I noticed on that. There were a couple other spots that, I could see they were kind of being more, I don't know what's the term, more body English into it, where they're kind of leaning more, hitting that rear brake more, and bringing that down, bringing the front wheel down. But also pretty good track. Like these 2 whoop sections. This was a shorter whoop section right here. Coming into this, I heard Carmichael call it a 90-degree turn. It's actually a little bit more than a 90, but whatever. But going whoop section into a pretty long dragon's back, and then jumping, and then this long whoop section here. I think the 2 whoop sections really helped separate the toppest top riders from some of the other really good top riders. I know later in the race evening, these whoops were getting so blown out. They were all like, a lot of guys were jumping through them instead of like skimming, blitzing across the tops of them. So yeah, that was kind of neat. It was neat to see, a little different. A lot of times, depending on how well the track is built and what the dirt is, they can almost blitz across the whoops the entire race. But having it where it breaks up, the whoops get cupped out, and you can't stay on top of them as well, so they start jumping through them. And I got to talk about Jason Anderson's probation. Me personally, I think it's bullshit. I get it why Feld Entertainment and Monster Energy, Supercross, whoever really runs it all. I get why they do the probations and why they find these guys and tell them like, hey, don't ride so aggressive. because they do that more for people who aren't hardcore fans of the sport, I think, where they don't know what Supercross is. They don't know what dirt biking is. And unfortunately, even dirt biking has gotten a bit softer than it used to be back in the day. When I was racing, I was super aggressive all the time. I was kind of known for it, and people didn't like it. Some people were fine with it because they would battle me just as hard, and I always liked that. But I never got really into... I got a couple talkings to back in, my racing days, and I had people come up to me in the pits like, oh, what the fuck, man? Why are you so aggressive? Why are you doing that? But for me, it was just racing. It's just how I was. I've always liked the more aggressive riders. You can get more of your personality out there with it. And like I said, I think they're overdoing the probations now. Anderson, he's riding, I don't want to say riding scared, but he's riding, cautiously. He doesn't want to pay any more fines. He doesn't want to get in any more trouble. But it makes it more boring to me. And I know there's other fans of the sport that feel the same way. I've heard other people talk about kind of the same thing. And, that's, yeah. And, I don't know. I'd like to see them ease up a little bit. None of these, when Anderson or Barsha throws it in there and bangs bars, they're not trying to hurt the other rider. They're just racing with their personalities, so that's kind of my little piece on that. And back little, Barsha and Anderson are both very high energy, aggressive riders, and they are both kind of known for it. So when they are next to each other or near each other on the track, they're gonna bang bars with each other. That's just who they are. And I know that that's what kind of caused some of the probation, the penalties. But I'll talk about it a little bit later. Barsha takes out Cian Cirillo, and he didn't get penalized for it. So, I don't know. They could ease up just a little bit on it. It would keep it a little bit more exciting. There was, I don't remember what year it was, but there was a race quite a few years back where this one I understood the penalty because it was really dangerous, but it was... Chad Reed had an incident with, I want to say it was Trey Kennard, and Chad Reed was doing a different rhythm going into this corner, and Trey Kennard was like tripling into the corner, and Chad Reed was like doubling and then kind of rolling the last bump or the last jump and into the corner, and Kennard kind of jumped into the back of him. Not super bad. It did cause them to crash. It wasn't like he landed on him, but he kind of jumped into the back of Chad Reed, and it caused them both to go down. And Trey Kennard got up. He was, riding away. Like, he got around the corner, was riding away. Chad Reed got up and pinned it. And there's the video clip that of Trey Kennard has one hand on the handlebar, cruising down the long straightaway, fixing his goggles, ripping a tear off, and as he's only got one hand on the handlebar, Chad Reed comes in there and just cleans him out. That, I understood the penalty. That made sense. That was a dangerous move. Trey Kennard was out of it. He was just cruising. He's trying to fix his goggles, rip the tear off, one hand on the handlebar, and Chad Reed just cleaned him out. That one made sense. But most of these, little battles, bang bars, they're not trying to hurt each other. They just want to make an aggressive pass. So, like I said, they could ease up a little bit. On to my predictions that I had made for the 250s. Like always, I think I have Jet Lawrence finishing first. That's what I always predict, and this weekend he did it. I had put Levi Kitchen as second. He ended up getting fourth. And I had RJ Hampshire in third, and he finished second overall, or at the end of the race. So I was off on all of them except Lawrence. The results here. Let's see. Boop. Bring that over. So yeah, Jet Lawrence first place. RJ Hampshire got second place. Cameron McAdoo got third, and then there's Levi Kitchen in fourth. I brought it up later, but I'm looking at it right now. Jet Lawrence won by 16 seconds. He dominated this race for the main event. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but that is a pretty impressive lead at the end of the race there. So Jet Lawrence, I guess he was the fastest qualifier. Fastest qualifier for the third race in a row. That's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. RJ Hampshire had internal bleeding from his crash that he had at A2. And a separated shoulder. That actually, when I said that, my shoulder started to hurt. That was weird. So they kept talking about that throughout the night. Getting second place, still recovering from the gnarly crash and the injuries. That's an impressive ride. And third place, like I said, was Cameron McAdoo. Heat race 1. Max Voland got the whole shot. And Voland pulled a quad that nobody had done, but it still wasn't enough for him to pull away from RJ Hampshire. And that quad was, is that showing? Yeah, it was right here. He had, gone through the rhythm, however he went, and then he landed in this pocket, and then jumped from this face of the tabletop all the way into the corner. But it wasn't enough for him to pull away from Hampshire. And they battled for a couple laps, and eventually Hampshire made the pass stick. I think I show this. Oh, whoops. Wrong screen. So we got Voland and Hampshire right here. Is that showing? Yeah. Hampshire makes that pass right there. Triple. And Hampshire, the lap before that, he had quadded into that turn and almost made the pass, but couldn't. And they battle a little bit more. And Hampshire's got it now. So that was one thing too. I just saw the wall jump. That is right here. Let's see if I can get a better view of that. Wall. There's not. This is an okay view, I guess. Yeah. I'm pretty sure this season so far, this is the first track that had a wall jump on it. It actually wasn't as big as I was hoping for. I've seen some of these wall jumps where these guys almost have to, they either send it off of it and then land flat, or they have to go like pretty slow up it because it's really steep and it's got a steep landing. This one was almost like a small tabletop jump where it just goes like up, flat, and then down. That's like a tabletop because of the flatness. on it, kind of like the step on, step off jumps. It's like a takeoff jump, a little tabletop jump, and then a landing jump. Uh, so that little in the middle flat jump, that's like the tabletop. Um, what was that? This one. And then that was kind of all the real action in the first heat race. RJ Hampshire was kind of on another level, winning by 7 seconds. And then there was another 6 seconds between Voland and third place rider Matt Moss. So those two, RJ and Voland, were both on another level, with RJ being on like another level. He was just riding so much faster. Heat 2, it's kind of hard to tell, but it looked like Wageman got the whole shot, followed very closely by McAdoo, and McAdoo quickly made the pass for the lead in the second whoop section. I don't think this video quite shows that. Oh, maybe it does. Yeah. Oh yeah, there he goes. Yeah, I was. Yeah, second whoop section. Nope, second whoop section's here. Maybe it does show it. Oh yeah, right here. Easily by him. That's right. Easily past him. Yeah, I could get lost watching these clips. Jet Lawrence. Jet Lawrence was in third. He did a different rhythm section through the section right before the jump turn and made the pass. That's this section here. I called this the jump turn because they were jumping and turning kind of. I don't have a video clip of it, but I also noticed that Jet was trying to figure out a new line through one of the rhythm sections, but kept mistiming it. He was trying to quad into the turn like Voland did, which if I can find, that's right here where they land in this pocket and jump off the takeoff to the tabletop and land into the corner. I watched Jet case that several times trying to get that just right, and it was so hard to get the timing off this because they would triple onto this tabletop, the step on, step off. They would triple on, jump off, then try to triple into this pocket and then quad out. That is very tricky because, partially for how peaky these jumps are and partially for how close the jumps were built in the rhythm section. It was really hard to get that timing just perfect to land and on off and then triple right into this little pocket and then quad out. That is a very impressive move to be able to pull that off. And something that I want to bring up that these riders have to think about is the risk to reward factor. A line like that is very risky, but very rewarding, because if nobody else or maybe only one other rider on the track is doing that line, that's going to be a lot faster probably than whatever the other main line through there is. And this kind of plays back into how I talked about earlier, how they're still trying to figure out lines in the heat races. That should have all been able to have been figured out during all the qualifying that they do, because these guys, they're out there riding like press day, then they have qualifying, and then they have, the heat races and stuff. But by the heat races, they should have these lines figured out. I lost it there. And I don't know, that's a pretty long line, really on the 250s, I was impressed. They were consistently tripling onto this tabletop. 250s obviously have about half the power of the 450s, and so being able to stretch that out through this such a tight turn and get that speed to triple on, then off, and do your triple, and the rest of that rhythm section was really impressive. And Jet battled with McAdoo for a couple laps. Finally pulled a block pass for the lead. Jet was significantly faster in the whoops than McAdoo, about half a second faster, and that just shows Jet is so comfortable. He is so fast, so comfortable, so confident on the bike to be able to be that much faster. Let's see. Bring that over. So right here, Dragon's back. Comes down through the corner and just blows past him. And does a little block pass move right there. And that was a good example right there of this time. Hunter had cased that quad that I was just talking about a few times, like several times really earlier, and here he decided not to try that quad, so he just tripled and then singled into the corner. But going through the whoops here, he was way faster than McAdoo, and that's how he was able to make that pass. And then he got up there in the corner and just kind of blocked past him. Didn't really make any contact, as you can see. Just kind of slides up in there a little bit. Aggressive but not dirty. And then they're tripling and then singling into the corner, making the pass stick. So yeah. And as for the 250 LCQ, not much to report on. There were no big names in that race. Nothing crazy happened. No crazy crashes in the last turn or anything like that. On to the 250 main event. What's this? This is the results. It's over here. Turn that. Like we talked about earlier, Jet Lawrence won. Then RJ Hampshire, Cameron McAdoo, Levi Kitchen. Pierce Brown was riding really well until he crashed. Couple times, I think. But it was these guys right here. These are the standout rides. And right here, RJ Hampshire ended up pulling the whole shot. Which got right here. Hampshire gets the whole shot. McAdoo makes a small mistake in the whoops and Jet passed him. Let's see. McAdoo right here. Oh, yeah. So, what happens here? Okay, I can slow this down. Playback speed. 0.5. Mute it. So, what happens here is McAdoo is sort of skimming him. Oh, right here. Sorry. He's jumping through, and he kind of messes up. He's trying to skim. And then right there, before I paused it, he missed one enough to where his front wheel dropped in the in between the whoops, and it messed him up. And then that's when Jet Lawrence was able to pass him. Yeah, that was a pretty good save by McAdoo. He got a little bit lucky that it didn't cause him to crash, anything like that. McAdoo was a mistake. Hampshire goes down in this turn right here. So they would do the finish line, hit this little rhythm, cut across the start straight, hit the wall jump, and they would tear down here and hit this inside line where there was a pretty good rut right through there. And RJ Hampshire misses the rut and kind of front wheel just doesn't quite get in the rut. And because there was nothing for his front tire to like push against in that corner, it just slid out for him or on him. Let's see. So this is RJ. It's a little hard to see, but right there, if he had been just a little bit further over to the left, right in here, he misses the rut and slides out. But not too big a deal. He fell over, lost the position to, oh man, my brain just totally lost it. Jet Lawrence. So he lost the lead to Jet right there. Also want to throw it in there. That same corner also caught Anderson, Plessinger, and Tomac during qualifying. They all made mistakes in that corner. So that is a pretty damn tricky corner right there. Pierce Brown tried to pass McAdoo. McAdoo passes him back with a good block pass where he kind of stands Pierce Brown up in the corner, kind of stops him, and Pierce Brown just sort of falls over. Again, that was an aggressive pass, but not really too dirty. With as crazy as they've been with the penalties and probations, I'm kind of surprised they didn't put McAdoo on probation for that. But here's that whole little bad. I've had it done to me. It's very common kind of block pass. Pierce Brown kind of battled a little bit with Levi Kitchen, but once Brown finally made that pass on Kitchen, he crashed in front of the mechanics area. And this shows him down right by the mechanics area, which if he had needed any repairs, he was in the right spot. But this has him kind of battling. It cuts away, and then the next shot is Pierce Brown on the ground again. Coming up here, right there. He's on the ground, right in front of the mechanics area. So, like I said, if he had, bent a lever, bent his handlebars, they could have fixed him right there, but then he would have been further back behind. And Lawrence wins this race by 16 seconds. I think I mentioned that earlier. That is crazy dominant. To win a Supercross by that big of a lead, these Supercross races aren't that long. So to be that much faster than all the other riders, and to be that much faster than the second place guy, that's crazy dominant. I think that if RJ Hampshire or McAdoo really want to challenge Lawrence for one of these race wins, they need to change something. I don't know if They need to go out and hit the test tracks more and practice more, or test their suspension more, or work on their starts more, or something. They got to work on their corner speed. I don't know what they have to do. Maybe it's just a mental thing. Maybe they just need to, take a couple days off the bike, go do something fun. I had that sometimes in my racing when I would get so focused on, battling for a championship. All I did was ride and train and ride, and I got burnt out. And those were the times when, it would be great to, take a day off of riding and, go do something else, or even take a day off of testing and training and just go ride in the hills. Go ride some trails, go get a group of buddies together and go find some natural terrain jumps somewhere. Go out to like a sand dune place if you've got it, hit some jumps out there. Sometimes you just need to do something a little bit different like that to, energize yourself, refocus yourself, keep it fun, because otherwise, I got burnt out. Obviously, all these riders, we all love the sport. We're never going to stop. It's just sometimes you just need to switch it up a little. Once in a while, go out, ride for fun, go out, completely do something different. Just kind of clear your head from the whole training and focus, and everything revolves around racing. So I think they need to do something like that, because neither one of them should be 16 seconds behind Jet Lawrence. But that was it for the 250s. Moving on to the 450s.